back to RGR football. It's another week, so it's another round, of course, of rumors that go round about this team despite everything. And yes, there has been a lot of activity lately. If you're new to the channel, make sure you sub and like and hit the bell notification right now so you don't miss a thing. Going to start today because it seems as though the signings of Patrick Mahomes and the signing of Chris Jones has not been enough to satiate the rumor mill around this team. That's what happens when you are a Super Bowl champion, so you can't really expect for that not to go on. So we're going to start smashing them because it's clawing for straws right now. I'll give you a general guide because just to begin with, where the Chiefs are at is not an enviable position in terms of cap space. And that's what happens when you go and you sign a $500 million contract for a quarterback, and then you go and spend $85 million on top of that in order to sign a defensive tackle. The key here is that the Chiefs are sitting right above $6 million in cap space. And while that's enough to sign the draft class, which at this point seems to already be in place, and we're getting some numbers on them, including first-round pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it is not enough to do anything else with any grace period or room to maneuver. So that is going to be a limiting factor that runs through any idea of upgrading talent on this roster that doesn't involve a straight cut. Now, getting to these rumors, the first one that seems just to come out of left field, not for the Chiefs, I'm sure the Chiefs wouldn't mind, but for the Tennessee Titans. This is a team that prides itself on playing tough, on playing man coverage, on being able to go up against teams like the Texans, like the Chiefs, teams that they've been playing in years past, that have the advantage in terms of the talent on the offensive side. This is a team that prides itself, with Mike Vrabel at the helm, in being able to man up on them and to play coverages that are not easy, that you're not protecting everybody with deep zones all the time. And it does revolve around one Adoree Jackson, because at this point, he is the premier talent on his team's roster. He's a young player. This guy, touch under 6 foot and has 4.4 speed. That is a rare combination. And although he is 5 games missed last year is not the greatest, but he is in a position to be someone that can be a cornerstone for that Tennessee Titans team for the foreseeable future. He is not a flash in the pan. He is not somebody that is going to be here today and gone tomorrow. And that includes in any form of trade to the Kansas City Chiefs or anyone else, to be quite frank. He has averaged, by PFF's grades, 74 points over his career, which is only 3 years old. That is going to be very, very hard to even contemplate getting rid of. I expect him to play out this season. I expect him to be with the Tennessee Titans long term. He will have to be a priority for what that Tennessee franchise is getting ready to do. A player who was in Kansas City for the long haul includes Mecole Hardman, and yet there's a trade rumor about him going around. That two things that catch you about this is that they don't want to lose Mecole Hardman. He is going to be a piece of this future. With his abilities on display in 2019, he's given more than a glimpse of what the future could be once there is the departure of Sammy Watkins. And eventually, Patrick Mahomes will not finish his career throwing to Tyreek Hill. He will need another speed demon out there that can take on that role and take advantage of what his abilities come from his right arm. It takes speed in order to maximize what you get from Patrick Mahomes. So the concept of trading a young, cheap player who, for the remainder of his rookie contract, will cost $4 million, which is a quarter of what Odell Beckham Jr. will cost in 2020. That is pushing the boundaries of sanity and comes into a place where, yes, Odell Beckham has asked to be out of Cleveland. He's hinted at come get me and so on and so forth. The Browns don't want to give up part of their LSU receiver tandem either, even though in 2019, the more productive player was Jarvis Landry in terms of catches per yard, total yards. There is the ability to be Odell Beckham Jr. And that is a serious, serious weapon for an offense. But this Kansas City offense is stock full of weapons. So then the conversation turns to, well, trade weapon for weapon. Let Sammy go on and bring in Odell. That's still not a deal that either the Browns or the Chiefs are going to want to do. The Browns, for again, not wanting to give up one of their strategic weapons that they have to have in order to try to be successful going forward. You have to have someone to pair with Nick Chubb, and that's important. But for the Chiefs, this is not something that you want to do. The cap hits for the end of Odell Beckham's career, who is under contract through 2023 right now, make him nearly impossible to stay on any roster near what the Chiefs are doing. There is a possibility down the line they could absorb a contract like that, but it's not going to happen from Odell Beckham, and they don't want to give up Sammy Watkins. The difference, even just this year, would be significant in the $7 million range that would eat up all the cap that they have and then some, and that's even before the rookie signing. So that's a little bit pie in the sky. You don't want to give up Mecole. You don't want to give up Sammy because of the dollars. And quite frankly, there is always a conversation to have about Odell Beckham Jr. coming into a locker room that is going to have more younger players as time goes by. As you see a few of the Chiefs superstars get paid, that means the rest of the locker room is going to have to get younger, going to have to be draft picks. And the question becomes, can you bring in a guy that affects all of those players because of how good he is? On the field is one thing. Being in the locker room, being a leader off the field is another thing. And I don't think the Chiefs have any desire to bring in a player that has clearly been up and down as Odell Beckham Jr. has. Another rumor that has Chiefs fans kind of drooling right now, it's being perpetuated because it does provide an abject lesson in taking players that you have to switch positions. And while, yes, Haason Reddick is a very good athlete and has a lot of potential yet, even though he hasn't met it yet, I do think that this is a long shot. When he came out of college, there was the position change. He hasn't adapted that well. He hasn't played up to his potential yet. It doesn't mean that he won't, but I don't think it's going to be in Arizona. So at this point in the season, as teams are starting to report, I don't see there's any reason to go out and try to trade for a player that's in a transition like Reddick is. There is a possibility that he does not play out this contract for the Cardinals and may actually be available without having to trade a thing. If that were to happen, I can say, as a free agent pickup, I could be enticed to give it a shot in taking a look at Haason Reddick playing next to Anthony Hitchens and in there with Willie Gay Jr. eventually. They do have to get younger at that position as well in the future, and that could be a good way to go about it if it's available and it's on the cheap. Everything now from the Chiefs going forward is going to have to be on the cheap for the next couple of seasons in order to maintain the balance that these two mega contracts have set up. That's why they're there. And that leads me to the last bit about Patrick Mahomes. And that is the concept that a lot of national media have tried to throw some shade on the contract that the Chiefs were able to get done with Patrick Mahomes, painting it as though the Chiefs took advantage of the young quarterback, even though he's got representation that have been well around the block, so to speak, and perpetuating the idea that the team is in position because they somehow put one over on Patrick Mahomes and Chris Cabot and Lee Steinberg. That's just preposterous. And I think what we found out this week really was a side note to put the emphasis on it. And it came from his teammate, Chris Jones, in saying that he received a text from Patrick after Patrick's deal was done saying, quote, "I left some on the table. Let's get this deal done," referencing the Chiefs' ability to sign Chris Jones to a long-term deal. This confirms that Patrick Mahomes knew what he was doing, wanted the contract, and really did, as he has said in public, wanted to leave room for the Chiefs to sign other talent around him. And that is what makes him great and puts all of these rumors to rest. Thanks for checking this one out. We'll have more for you coming tomorrow as well as next week. Make sure you sub, like, and hit that bell notification. We appreciate you watching this one. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.